Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Planning Commission's February meeting. Today we have a new commissioner with us, Mr. Warren Shaw. Just welcome to you as well, and we'll be down a couple commissioners. We'll start actually with the Pledge of Allegiance, if I could ask you to join. United States of America. Thank you. Okay, we'll jump into our roll call. Warren Shaw, present. Suzanne Stone here. Bill Comiskey and James Rath are both going to be absent tonight, as I understand it. Sarah Wenger here. And Stephen Maples here. And Roddy Egan also present. Okay, first order of business is the minutes from last month. Were there any commissioner comments or edits? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so for today's meeting, we have a good few items here. Our first is a consent item. It is PLPC 2021-0043 for 155 River Street. Is the applicant present tonight? Applicant Keenan Gundes? Kanan? Okay, I don't believe we've ever encountered that before. We don't have to have the applicant present. If the commissioners are satisfied with materials, we can proceed on the item. So this was, someone to go over to our staff notes here. Yeah, so this item, I think, was previously before the Planning Commission back in 2021. I reviewed this with the planning staff, and it constitutes a minor adjustment in installing an HVAC system on the roof. It looked to me from the supplied materials like that system would be outside of any use sheds or really any nuisance to anybody. It was reviewed by HRC. One of the comments in discussing with staff was that we should likely formally adopt the recommendations of HRC in order to make those part of the action for them. So, want me to elaborate on that? Sure, please.
Under the code, the commission is the Historic Review Commission also. So the members of this commission serve in a dual capacity. The committee is simply, the Historic Review Committee is simply an advisory body that advises the Historic Review Commission. And, but it has no power of its own to act or to agree to anything. That has to be done by the Historic Review Commission, which is also the Planning Commission.
Right, so their guidelines or recommendations, in order for them to be truly adopted by outside bodies like SHPO, need this commission to really sign off on the recommendations. Does that make sense to the commissioners?
Yep. Yes.
Warren, you have a question? No? Okay, were there any commissioner comments on this item? Okay, then I will first make a motion that we adopt the recommendations and findings from the HRC related to the item.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then we need action on the consent. Did you help us with that language for that, for the motion?
So I'm not quite clear what you're asking here.
Just for the consent item, I'm not sure exactly.
So you have just adopted
Yes,
the HRC
correct.
findings. Okay, so I think that's your formal action.
I thought that was just our acceptance of their guidelines, but then we have to take separate motion on the actual consent item, the approval of.
Well, okay, all right, you can do that. I think it's just that you approve the item as adopted.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the items on the consent agenda. Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next item for us going into old business. Number is PLPC 2023-0040 for 269 through 275 Fifth Avenue. Is that applicant here today? Great.
Evening. Good evening, have me.
Welcome back. Bear with us if you're on Zoom, just getting the presentation loaded in.
Okay, so let me start. Alright, so I'll start off over here. So based off of the staff notes, we only had a few different comments. Is there anything that you would like to go over specifically first?
Walk us through any changes you've made or
So,
here's what's first.
so from last meeting, we put these little, warning steps for the handicap, and we also placed the two dumpsters at an angle. And again, these power lines that are over, we actually did a measurement. They're about 27 feet, which is the minimum for the county waste that we will be using. They only needed 24 feet maximum height. So this should be more than enough room for them to get in and get out with the dumpsters. I do believe that last meeting, I did not have anything on this wall. So now we'll have gas meters and electric meters all on this wall. I will be putting bollards or some sort of blockade around these, so in case a car comes or anything, they will have the go through the blockade before it gets to that. And then, the other thing, we do have the other 3 units leased out. I mean, we have everything, on contract, so depending on if they want to make any change, depending on whether you guys want us to make any changes this meeting, they have the right to say yes or no, but right now we have Revision Real Estate, Bagels and Bagels Cafe, and then a Halal Grill and Kebab. So the known hours for the Bagels and Bagel Cafe is gonna be from 6 AM to 3 PM. Laundromat will be from 6 AM to 11 PM, and the Halal Grill will be from 10 to 10. And the Revision Real Estate, this is just gonna be an office room, so it doesn't have, hours as of yet, but most likely, if I were to guess, it would be around 9 to 3, 5, somewhere around that. And I think I do believe, the Troy Police Department wants us to put a gate in between this little alleyway. If you guys remember from my original plan, when I wanted it the L shape, where it was only, I believe, the left side building was the only frontage along Fifth Ave in 106, so where the other building was just where the green space is. So I'm willing to put the fence there. I mean, there's many different options too. We can do an automated gate where it just shuts down, but, my only concern would be if we put it in the front, that's not really stopping anybody from going around in the parking lot, which again, it's still hidden. So if they're worried about the crime, it's still gonna be behind the streets, not really gonna be seen on the busy Fifth Ave.
Was
So-
there a request or recommendation on both ends of the alley? I believe it was, right?
Yes, so if we were to do that, then it gets a little bit more complicated, but it's not something we can't do, so we'd have to automate the front and the back, but if someone ends up getting entrapped in the middle, we'll have it become a one-way door, so they can push it out, but once it's locked, they can't go back in. So we can implement something like that.
I have a question.
Sure.
Why are they 2 separate buildings?
So it's because of this alleyway, so instead of having the customers go all the way around for the laundromat, they can cut through there in case they need to, access the street or wanting to get away.
Pedestrian access. I
Yes,
think, From
yes,
Fifth Ave.
yes.
You also show this little concrete rectangle in front of on Fifth Avenue. Is that for people dropping off, or is that?
No, that's just a little handicap access, so, it's not meant to be there. I kind of messed up on the rendering. It's just supposed to have grass all the way across.
This isn't it's not our purview, but I'm surprised you want to build 2 exterior walls there. Surprised you want to pay to build 2 exterior walls there facing each other. And I just can't help myself. Perhaps you could make it one building and that could just be blast-in circulation that you could control access to.
So that actually was one of our original, choices, but then I believe, Roddy is his name?
That's me.
No, what's the,
Bill.
Bill, the guy who usually sits to the left of you?
Bill could do something.
Anthony.
Anthony or, well, one of them, but it was a recommendation from one of you guys that we implement a little alleyway there. To separate 2 buildings, so pedestrians can walk through. I believe he's also an advocate for, bicycles, so I do believe that was one of his recommendations.
And, to be a voice for James, I'm in favor of having having the pedestrian access. I honestly, I'm a little bit head scratching at the PD's comments. I think
Yeah.
some lights and cameras are fine. I don't really understand the compelling need for, it's the kind of thing where if you build that kind of infrastructure, you sort of invite that kind of thing rather than, the other way around.
Yeah, because obviously we're gonna do the best that we can do, but we also want, Troy PD to do the best that they can do. So
Right.
we work hand in hand. And the lighting situation, I didn't want to put too many lights on the outside because again, it's around a bunch of residential, buildings, especially where this car is, right where that tree is showing. I didn't put the house there, but there's a residential house and I made sure that I had the parking lights, a low enough lumen that's, plenty of brightness for the parking lot, but yet still facing away from the houses. And that's exactly why we're in the back building right here. Let me see. These lights, I have them all facing down, so they're not emitting straight to any of the houses.
Stephen, I don't see the value in the fencing, the gate. I know if I were going through there and it were dark, I'd want to move as quickly as possible.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it will be a well-lit area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, I think that's where we're saying, like,
And then again, we will also have signs saying no soliciting,
Solicitation.
sorry. We will have a bunch of signs, but again, signs are only as good if the person wants to pay attention to it or if they want to listen. But we will try our best.
What's the width of the wall right there?
It is about 8.5 feet. So,
So you are showing lights on the.
correct, yes, the alley.
One or the
yes.
other.
Yeah, just how we have these
Yeah.
lights facing down on all of our buildings, it will be the same in the alleyway or in the path. And again, this canopy that is here, it also has lights underneath. So that will be more illumination.
Got it. Anything else you wanted to present from the updates?
I think that's kind of it. I would have any objections to the material, and I believe you were talking about bracing for the roof, so I actually kind of sloped it down, so they won't be, no neighborhoods, no residential buildings will see any of the bracing for the roof.
Meaning you brought the elevation of your roof deck up?
Yeah,
towards the-
just to slope it, so it helps with the water as well, and to hide any of the bracing, support the wall.
Gotcha. Ultimately, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a structural designer that'll tell you what kind of bracing you need.
Yeah.
Or an architect. Okay, today this item is on, for public hearing as well. So I'd like to turn it to the public, and ask if anybody had come today or via Zoom, to comment on this item.
The public comment period was closed
I thought I
last,
looked in the minutes,
last month.
I had the minutes open and it was motioned, oh, excuse me. I saw public hearing instead of our public comment.
I have the public comment period was closed.
Yeah, but it also then says motions to schedule public hearing. It's a bit confusing. Okay, but we had closed public comment then. Okay, great. And you got, I know another letter in that was in our folder related to this item, so that that's part of the record, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. My apologies, everybody. So then just turns back to the commissioners. Were there any other updates or modifications you're looking to see on the site plan? We are prepared, I think, as of this meeting to be able to take action on this.
I just want to be clear, so you are going to have two buildings or you're not, or,
We are gonna have two
Okay.
buildings, yes.
I also need some clarification because from what I understand, the use of these buildings is one story.
No, they are actually 2-story. So, the second story is, it's not gonna be for customers, but it's only gonna be for management, for such as like HVAC units, the vents, any lighting, so they will have access to it on a catwalk. And the laundromat will have a mezzanine, which will hold an office.
No, what I'm saying is the three smaller buildings,
Yes,
they're 20-something feet high.
correct.
At one point, you had the roof much lower and a very high parapet,
Yes,
so it was kind of like a false second story.
Correct.
Now
Yeah,
you
but-
raise the roof.
No, so the whole roof has been the same height, but so it's the whole roof, I believe the bracing, the fencing to cover the HVAC units is only about 6 feet, 7 feet. I have to look at the elevations, but everything underneath will have very high, ceiling, and again, it will be a second floor, but it'll be a catwalk, so, it won't go straight across the building.
So it's like a height,
Yeah.
one-story building.
Yes.
basically. Okay, that's why it's so high. And my other question was, why are the signs so high up? Because you want visible from vehicles, or could they possibly go lower towards the canopy?
They could go lower, I mean, the only reason why I put them up high, there wasn't really a preference, we just thought that was the best aesthetic looking from the street.
Just to me, it looks like a high-speed suburban car-oriented place. It doesn't feel like a walking scale, but that's my opinion. And the other thing I was noticing, those second story, upper half of the facades there, especially on Fifth Avenue, they're very blank, there's no fenestration. I'm just worried at night, is it gonna look so dark? But I don't know if that was brought up, and I know you've been here a lot, so I'm new to this.
So it goes the same as a residential house as well. I mean, we do have lighting underneath, the canopies and for the walkway, but the only reason why I didn't illuminate the top is because the signs will illuminate a little bit.
He's, gotta pause you. Less so about illumination, I
Yeah.
think is his point, more so about articulation of the surface. So how the shape, the geometry of it looks, a little bit, you're saying in the color choice is dark,
But
but
also, just at night, that's gonna read as black. If you don't have windows, or possibly, I didn't know how high the parapet, I was thinking maybe you could have punch outs in the parapet, but now that I understand this is a tall ceiling space, I was just hoping there possibly would be more windows up, higher up, but it's not a deal breaker, but
It was very hard to implement those, and the only reason why I didn't do that is I felt like it would hurt the aesthetic of this building. Since, I mean, I understand that this is a predominantly residential area, but we were trying to do the best of both.
so Warren, would lighting, upward lighting affect your perspective on it? Or is it more so through lighting and color palette or geometry of the facade?
I think lighting would help. So when it's closed, I mean, at midnight, some kind of low voltage lighting possibly had it.
On the fifth side, I can somewhat understand that because there is some commercial, property nearby, but I also get trying to minimize light pollution as well to the area.
Yes.
Any other commissioners have a position on it?
I mean, I would echo your concerns about light pollution. I certainly understand Warren's point, and I'm not sure quite how to square the circle, but, if push came to shove, I would be more concerned about light pollution than the other concerns, but I'm not, don't have strong feelings on this one.
Fair enough.
I mean, Fifth Avenue is a very busy street. There are delis, I live not too far from there. I didn't mean bright lights, it just means something, so it's gonna read as a black silhouette at night. Whereas housing fenestration, a little bit of light coming out the window, it just feels,
Would,
feels less suburban to me.
would the, store business sign names stay illuminated at night?
Once everything is closed, I believe after 11 PM, all the lights will be shut down.
Those overhead that are shown in white?
Yes.
I don't feel strongly about this one way or another, so I leave it to the other commissioners. Voice their opinions. Is that something you'd like to see changed more?
Well, I'd like to hear what other people say. Maybe it's just we could articulate the facade a little more. I just see a big floodplain that's
That part I
at least
understand.
10 feet. And it doesn't feel, the scale doesn't feel like Fifth Avenue, it feels like a strip mall in like Lakewood. To me, that's just. I mean, I don't see any other buildings in Lansingburg like this.
Perhaps would insetting like the, titles help a bay, basically? I'm just trying to brainstorm ideas.
Yeah,
for how to
maybe a
change
very low voltage light that's not, it's just lighting maybe a niche or a, articulation,
Yeah, that's what I meant.
and then integrate that with signage. Just a little bit of light, so it doesn't look,
So if you were to create a pocket within that facade,
Yes.
basically, think of like a rectangular pocket, that's what you're kind of saying, with some down facing lights.
yeah, it could be integrated maybe with the way you're designing the signage. Just a little more articulation.
Yeah, we can definitely do something like that, but again, the only reason why I do not want to put the lights up too high is because if the lights are up higher, the angle of light pollution becomes a little bit more, so residential houses around might be bothered. So I did try to put them as low as possible, so the only thing that would be illuminated would be the sidewalks.
They'll be turned off anyways, though, at night.
At night, yes, after 11 PM.
Unless it's something you want to specifically request of them, I'm prepared to keep moving.
Now, I think,
I do think that a little bit of articulation in the facade would be a nice feature, and not just having that flat face there. The lighting I'm a little bit indifferent to, but I agree in terms of massing and shape. I'd be curious, Sarah. Opinion here?
Yeah, I agree with all of the comments that you made. Yeah, thank you. I agree with the comments that I've heard from fellow commissioners. But we've seen the evolution of this project. Excuse me. And so I'm so much more satisfied now. One of the staff comments is that we need real signage, in detailed signage information. And I would say that that's an opportunity to maybe not create relief or texture in the facade or, three-dimensional articulation, but some interest. And perhaps we could task you with that as a follow-up. And tell me if this is permissible, but potentially that could be a condition of approval of the project.
That would make sense to me. We could review those details
Right.
as a final sign off.
I just have one more minor comment. The detail of the cornices, kind of the dental cornices. I mean, it could just be a mistake, but it says 3 inches. So obvious in the detail. I mean, I think that's just probably an oversight or They look like they're at least 12 inches, 18 inches.
Yeah, so,
Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be, hardly be able to see them from the street.
yeah, so it's definitely not going to be the ranges, it'll definitely be more. But a lot of this stuff is also gonna be custom made as well. So I wasn't able to pull up any, examples of anything similar to that. But how the rendering does look is 99% of what this building will look like.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other commissioner comments then? Hearing none? All right, so we had at last meeting declared the application complete, closed public comment and scheduled, the hearing and site plan review for today. So, we are prepared, or we could, I should say, procedurally take action on this. I think that the remaining changes are minor. I don't think I'm hearing a consensus to adopt a recommendation to install fencing at the alley. But we do want to make sure that it is well lit.
Definitely.
And then I think that was it. Was there any further conferencing with sanitation or waste management on the location of the dumpsters and whether that would work?
No other comment, we received the okay, they were saying it's, accessible, and they'll be able to come whether once a week, twice a week, depending on how much garbage accumulates from all these, buildings.
Gotcha. Were we okay with that item as well? I know that was one of our discussion points. Any other conversation on the dumpster? Okay, well then, in that case, for unlisted, remind me, do we need, neg deck or no?
For unlisted?
Correct.
Yeah, you could make a neg deck if you'd like.
I think it
I
was
can't
already
recall whether,
said
actually, that one section.
I apologize.
I can't recall whether or not we had negative.
I thought it was only for type 1, type 2s, but
Type 2 is no neg decks, unlisted, but
would definitely be them. Okay, so we need a negative, I'm gonna go with the fact, just to cover us, that we need a statement of negative declaration on seeker, and then we can take action on site plan.
And shall we declare ourselves lead agency first?
For good measure, why not?
I'll make a motion that, the planning commission, service lead agencies.
Second. Moving to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then for neg deck, can I get a motion?
I will make a motion that we issue a negative declaration with seeker.
Second. Thank you, Stephen. Moving to a vote, all in favor? Aye. Okay. And then, so at this point, we can, make a decision on site plan. I think there are, at least one condition that we'd like to impose on it, specifically around signage. We'll essentially create a subcommittee, that would review final signage details and, deem it complete once we're satisfied with those details.
Yes.
Okay, so I will make a motion, that we approve the site plan presented with the condition, that the final signage details be compiled and represented with updates to the rendering, and proper, plan details, for a subcommittee, to review and approve. I'll second that motion. Thank you. I'll go around the table this time. Warren? For a vote. Warren?
Yes.
Suzanne? Sarah?
Yes.
Stephen? Yes. And I also vote yes, so it passes. You have site plan approved. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for, all the work throughout this process.
Of course,
Here, here.
it's been a long journey, but we made it.
Well done.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next agenda item is PLPC 2023-0049 for 487 Campbell Ave. Hello again.
Hello.
So last month, actually, I just closed my minutes, but last month, or maybe it was 2 months ago, we had discussed, some of the easement concerns, related to the proposal. I think there was some discussion around the dumpster location and services to both buildings on the property. Did you have an update on those items to share with us?
Yes, they're all addressed. We separated, we have a dumpster pad. My surveyor got back. Put everything in the plans.
Has the item of the easement been raised to council? Rick, is this something that crossed your desk?
I have not seen the final, description of the easement.
Okay.
So I do not believe that it would have to go into both deeds, really, one would be sort of subject to an easement with an easement.
So for us to grant approval, we would condition it upon council's
I think
review
you would want to see the descriptions.
prior to us.
I saw my surveyor put it in there.
I do know that I spoke with Eric about it and a couple objects in it. Basic elements of the easement just locates where it talks about ownership. But while council's reviewing that, we'll ask commissioners functionally, division of the lots in this manner. Are there any other flow, pedestrian issues, municipal service issues, access issues that anyone sees changing as a result of the division? Largely the same project, minus the some of the original drive around, wrap around lane.
Right, and I apologize to everyone for asking this question. Had we determined that it was not necessary to request that the applicant extend sidewalk?
I don't know that we ever addressed it specifically because it doesn't, I think we talked about it not continuing on past that address.
I think you're right, okay.
When I did the original building, we did do sidewalk.
What would that be, south though of, extending the sidewalk through, the entrance, sort of Sarah's kind of referring to, I think, right?
What I'm referring to is continuing west with the sidewalk along Campbell. Excuse me.
We did it towards the Mayos.
Cutting down the hill.
Yeah, that's tough because it's a lot of road and I don't even own that part.
I don't know that anyone walks down there. I don't know if that's because there is no sidewalk.
On the other side, there's a sidewalk.
Yeah,
About 1.5, like,
but I don't know that. So if the applicant were to extend that sidewalk, I'm not sure how much further it could go before it becomes really uncomfortable around that bend.
yeah, there's a whole trail network back through Burton, behind that property, and the start of it is way down on Route 4. And then if you walk through the network, you end up back up on the top side of Campbell Avenue towards the Palm, and towards Spring. And so when you come out there and try to get back down to your car, which you typically would park at the laundromat at the bottom, you're walking down the length of Campbell.
And I did talk to Carlo over in building, this is gonna help with fire and police separated. So with its separate address, or
Whose position was that, you said?
the fire and police, they like to have it, if they have residential, you know, to be separate, so they know where 911 calls are. So,
Oh, the guardrail's right there.
yeah.
Okay,
You're also good.
and then you're falling down the hill.
And you're on Sunday. It's not even at a certain point.
Thank you.
I don't know if we ever discussed crosshatching that or repainting the crosswalk that goes across the entrance. That's something I'd like to see at a minimum.
I would echo that, and, if there is an intent to have the sidewalk at the rear of the residential building, it goes all the way out to to that lane. So if there is the idea that people would be crossing over to the Dunkin', it would make sense to put some hatching there as well. Just that, you know, folks are driving into that driveway, understand people will be crossing there.
Other commissioner comments? Break no pressure, but anything to add?
How wide is this? Is it 50 feet wide or 30 feet wide?
So,
Easement. The right of way through, 493.
The entrance lane being made available to both, or to the residential unit.
kind of looking at the notes that I.
I think it's shown on 22. 22.52.
Sorry, I did get it. What I have done in the past, sort of phrase it out on. Get the opportunity to do that. It looks like it's duly prepared. Looks like it's duly prepared by a licensed surveyor. And, you're going to file the map? Hopefully or
Yes.
not, yeah. It seems in good order. I mean, obviously, there's verbiage that goes with it when they prepare the final deeds in the subdivision, so you may want to look at those.
I'd like to be able to approve it and take action on it. I'm wondering if there's any recommendations for conditions that you include.
Has, the fire department signed off on it or anything like that?
Yeah,
I think that's.
on what now?
On the accessibility to the proposed structure through the easement?
Not to my knowledge.
They would have reviewed it prior during our site plan development when it was one parcel. I mean. you know,
So that was already done?
Yes, we've reviewed the entire site plan before when the residential portion of this plot was proposed. That's when that would have happened.
Yeah.
This is just.
Just as a reminder, this did get site plan approval, and that this review was for subdivision.
Yes,
You know, and we did ask the applicant to make some adjustments to their site plan to accommodate dumpster locations, you know, and this easement, so that residents were not trespassing on adjacent property in order to access their parking location. So, you know, I mean, I think we want to be cautious about how far down the rabbit hole we go with asking for additional improvements to the site plan. Just want to make sure that the easements were covered in this subdivision review.
Will the parking be entirely separated?
Yes, that was on the the approval, where he had, yeah, separate.
Okay, all right, okay.
And the fire department did sign off and explain in their staff meetings that they have turning radius capability, they have access sufficiently, so.
So I'm satisfied that the easement is in good order.
Is there anything though for a follow-up review that needs to be conditioned within our approval of the subdivision? Of the easement specifically?
The only thing I would like to be sure of as an attorney is that the easement is properly written into the deeds. So that, I mean, you own both parcels now, you're going to be deeding them both to either entities that you control or to yourself, once the subdivision is done. And I think that the commission may want to ask its council to review those deeds, just to make sure that they're in good order.
Yeah, my lawyer's just waiting for this approval, he's gonna do the deeds.
He's gonna do the deeds, so we would want those to come back to us, just so we can look at them
Okay.
before they get filed.
We could do that as a condition of.
Yes, you can do that.
I have a naive question, is the title different from the deed? And does the title,
A deed is evidence of title.
perfect, thank you.
So can I have a motion, on the subdivision, please?
I'll motion for approval.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. And with condition,
Yes, sorry, my apologies. The motion for approval with the condition that commission's council has the final review for the deed to be in order. Deeds plural. That is my motion.
And I second it.
thank you. Moving to a vote, all in favor, I guess?
Aye.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, when I get that, my lawyer, I should,
It's okay. Coordinate with Eric.
thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh, new one, folks. All right, PLPC 2024-0002 is the first item for new business for 1 St. Joseph's.
Evening.
Good evening to you.
If you want.
Hi there, sorry.
Hi. I'm Jeff Raya. Thanks for the opportunity to present our simple property line adjustment. As you can see per our survey, I believe, is that heard on your screen?
Yeah, if you want, I can bring it up.
All right, fantastic.
We'll get that pulled up.
Okay, as you see on your screen, a survey prepared by Mark Danskin. Lot number 1, we picked up that property 6 months ago from the city. We cleared it. We want to propose to add that to lot number 2, which we're using as parking. Lot number 3 is just a single family residence. So all this will be one parcel. We've owned number 2 and number 3, which is one parcel actually, for 20 years. And that's my proposal, just to add that new lot, which we purchased from the city 6 months ago. And I do have. Are the photos in here?
Yeah, they're just.
Okay. That's across the street. There's number 3, which is the single family residence. It's on a hill. That's going down toward Fourth. We already cleared the lot. The lot was overgrown. We spent over probably $5,000 clearing that lot. And I do have a photo. The lot itself, which is number 1. Added all the photos here. That's just a corner pin, number 1.
The
And that's it, I
intent
guess.
was to put a parking garage or a garage of some sort
Yes,
on the new.
on number 1, correct. Yes.
So as I understand it, this creates a buildable lot, which brings it before us, and also has the structure as a garage requires an area variance. Okay, so looking to the commissioners, again, another kind of different one for us, from a lot of the proposals we look at, but, anything jump off the page for you guys as a concern?
I'm not exactly sure what the state of like, sidewalks are in this region, but, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what, to what extent we have talked about that on this lot, on the lot line adjustment. I mean, essentially, what's our purview on this?
Well, great question. In our code, it just says that the planning commission shall be the authorizing body, for any resulting non-conforming, like any resulting lot line adjustment that incorporates a non-conforming structure in a buildable lot. So if you find that there's any sort of concern, maybe if it was in a dense, populous location or,
If doing so would present an opportunity for access to another structure to be lost, or for emergency services to not be able to get there, or if they built on the lot and then you couldn't get to trash facilities or services or water lines, something like that, then we could require certain conditions or recommendations on the proposal or deny it outright. That's the sort of review we're looking for.
Yeah, well, I mean,
In this case, I don't see much concern.
yeah, but if I may be so, like, what exactly are we talking about that's non-conforming? It's a little bit muddy.
the garage needs a variance to be located as close as it is to the property line.
To the property.
That would constitute a non-conforming structure, since it did not have setbacks that are required in the development densities.
Right, but it's specifically I think it's in conformance with some of them, but not all of them, is that right?
Well, I mean, if it's gonna be in conformance with building codes and standards, but it's just in terms of its development intensity,
Right.
it doesn't meet the setback.
Okay.
So that would be not conforming.
Yeah, it's what come from ZBA.
Correct. I believe the applicant is in the process of obtaining ZBA approval.
Right. So our approval, we could condition upon issuance of that variance by ZBA. I would recommend we do so. Anyone else issues with it?
I just wanna know, is there an existing sidewalk where the, the front of the garage is?
There's not.
Okay.
There's no sidewalks. It's a
Okay.
dead end street. There's no sidewalks on that street at all. And all the homes are right, very close to the curb.
Yeah, I was looking at that and there is something that appears to be something that might have been intended to be a sidewalk at one time. There's a strip of asphalt there that appears like it looks like it was trying to be a sidewalk at one point. And I don't know exactly what the history of it is.
Karen, sorry to ask this question, but which setback is required to be 50 feet?
Side, or 50 feet, no, no, side setback. That's what I believe you're in front of the zoning board for, correct? The side
Well,
setback.
the front set, the garage per your guidelines, my understanding has to be 30 feet on a 50-foot lot. And our proposal is showing 16.5 setback.
Right.
Front setback.
I chose. Right, I mean, even side setback.
And in the application, it says, the city setback requirement is 50 feet, so I think that's just a typo.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Is the lot behind the garage an open lot, or is it a building?
It actually drops off like a cliff at the back. And if, I believe it drops maybe 20 feet, and there's a huge parking lot back there.
You look at the street view, it's pretty consistent with what's already on the street there. Agreed. What's being proposed, yeah. Okay, so here none, can I get the motion for approval on the site? This is a type 2 action.
You looking for a motion to approve?
Yes.
I'll move that we approve this application. ZBA, all right, with the ZBA, with conditions that, with the ZBA approval.
Of a variance, as currently requested within the proposal. Yes.
And I second that motion.
Thank you. Moving to a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item tonight is PLPC 2024-0003 for 6113th Street.
I'd like to just put on the record that this also requires a special use permit. Just,
Will that be on for a in the subsequent meeting?
it should have been site plan review for special use permit, so just a typo, more or less, in the heading. But it shouldn't derail any of the site plan review process.
Okay,
Yeah, we're on that afternoon.
welcome. So, if you want, do you have a presentation you'd like to put on screen, or, you want to just talk us through your proposal?
Yeah, if you want to pull it up, that help, but. So in general, what we have in our application, essentially, we're looking for a site plan review and to get approval to reoccupy an existing industrial building. We're not proposing any changes to the building, just simply has its occupancy permit, it's lapsed, and we are requesting to reoccupy the building
And then, my company, Energy Catalyst Technologies, which is a geothermal heat pump manufacturer, aims to assemble geothermal heat pumps, in that facility. That's kind of just the kind of high level summary of, what we're looking to do here. Just a little bit more information about, kind of the long-term goals, and I don't necessarily have a great. Here's the site, here's our site plan. So just a little bit of high-level information about, what we intend to do long-term with the building. And again, all we're trying to apply for today is permission to reoccupy a building whose occupancy permit has lapsed. We do not own the building. We are currently leasing the building. So it is not really, we don't have a large capability at this point of being able to make large, extensive modifications to the building, though certainly we aim to be a pillar of the community, and to provide, clean energy products from this facility. We'll be the only heat pump manufacturer in New York State. And we received both federal and state grants. In order to build a facility, we chose this site in Troy because we thought that it could be a good location. It's a building that's in relatively move-in ready condition. It has the right space that we need. It seems to be a good fit. It's a existing building that can be refurbished, refabricated into a high quality manufacturing facility. And over the next 5 years, we're going to invest $10 million into this site and the machinery and the people that occupy it. We will have up to 50 employees. And we aim to hire 25% of them from the local community. Within this building as well, it will serve as a bit of a community hub. So the Seat Center, which currently is based in Albany and Schenectady, we are working with them to provide training. Anyone here, everyone knows who Seat Center is or not? So they provide 18 to 24-year-old, mostly disadvantaged youth or youth that may have kind of fallen through the cracks a little bit. It helps to get them, in many cases, off the streets and into a workforce development type program. And our involvement with them would be to participate as a short-term employer and trainer for them so they can move on to other positions, in general in HVAC industry. We do have several neighbors who have voiced support, and there are 2 documented letters of support, including the neighbor just adjacent here on lot 376, as well as the local 7 plumbers union, who will participate with us in several trainings. We aim to be to build a geothermal hub out of this site that will provide training to contractors, not just in New York State, but even beyond the greater New England and Northeast territory. Just one other quick thing that I'll mention is that we were offered $1 million by a stage over in Albany to build a new construction, a new factory entirely from scratch over there. And by submitting this application, we're probably going to shoot ourselves in the foot on that one, but we would like to use this site instead. We're foregoing that potential $1 million because we see this site as such a good fit for us. We like the potential of building these heat pumps here in Troy. We have engaged in conversations already with the district loop that is being built in the city of Troy, and it's just kind of seems very serendipitous for us to both manufacture heat pump products as well as be able to help provide communication and kind of be that central hub for the geothermal in this greater capital Northeast region. So I think that's most of it.
Great.
I'll take questions.
Thank you. Let me start by saying it's always exciting to see new employer opportunities coming to the region. Definitely in Troy, we need it. We need some more, kind of industrial and commercial type offerings for people to take on, and I think that that's great. So excited to see where this is going. I think I'd like to hear more about what qualities of the site you were so attracted to outside of just it sounds like more demographic and regional kind of offerings. If there were things about the site specific that spoke to you guys functionally or feature wise or access wise, whatever it is, whatever it might be.
Yeah, so within the site, a couple of things that we liked about it. One is that it has a 2.5 acre lot. So it does have the ability, it's a large enough space that we can expand as the company grows and expands. So that was something that was fairly appealing. A lot of the other sites we saw, they might have had the same size building. They were kind of cornered in. There's no room to grow from there. So that was certainly that was one of the initial draws. This is in what is classified currently as a Justice 40 area. It's a federally recognized disadvantaged community. And we applied as a part of our federal grant, in which we've won $5.3 million from the Department of Energy towards this project. They wanted us and the recipients of that grant to invest inside disadvantaged communities. So that was another big driver for us.
Cool. Could you talk to us a little bit about what the product that'll be manufactured or created there would look like, size, scale, shape, materials?
Yeah, I brought some side photos that I did not submit initially, but is it okay if I bring up?
Sure.
I have my lovely assistant here. So
So there's, two products, there's the piping and then there is the actual pumps. So I'll just start with here.
yeah, just to clarify, what we'll initially be doing, we already, so it's a bit of a two-stage process right now. Currently, what we use is we use a contract manufacturer to manufacture essentially everything on our heat pump. And then we use a separate contract manufacturer to build our hot water tanks. In the future, we're going to be phasing our way towards building all of the components of the heat pump directly at the site. But it will be a phased and tiered approach. And so for the first year, as we're getting up and running, most of the heat pumps will still be manufactured at our contract manufacturer in Arkansas. And then as we build out the facility and expand it, or we include the tooling and things like that, we hire staff to increase their own capabilities. Then we will build more and more. And eventually, by the end of the 3-year term that we have with the Department of Energy, we will manufacture the entire heat pump there with a goal of about 1,000 heat pumps per year out of that site. And then the other piece that you see, the twisted pipe, that is called Twister. That is basically the most advanced geothermal pipe. And I just want to clarify one thing about that. All we're doing is we're taking, so actually kind of, can you just get to that for a second? So this is what it looks like right here in the back. Okay. So all it is 8 3/4 inch HDPE pipes, which we purchased pre-manufactured, pre-rolled, and then we roll them into the spiral around a 2-inch center bore. And then there's some fittings that we use for the finishing work on it. This allows for higher thermal conductivity, reduces the amount of drilling, and ultimately can reduce the cost of the geothermal project by about 25%. This is a product that is, has wide export capabilities. Right now, there are major projects going in Texas. In other parts, there's a district system in Canada, and all of these types of projects, which may contain thousands of loops, someday, could be coming out of Troy. So,
So do I understand correct that this facility would be more so assembly of componentry rather than raw manufacturing?
correct. So, for instance, none of the raw materials that go into this would be manufactured.
Sure.
We would purchase the rolls of the pipe, and we would roll it.
You're assembling it into that.
Assemble it into the pipe.
Okay. And then how about outside of the cabling? What else componentry wise?
So the other components primarily would be for the heat pump related items. So that essentially we have sheet metal, which would be purchased in large sheets. In the final stage, when we're building the top, all of it from scratch, sheet metal cut, bent, and, pressed out all the holes. It will be screwed together with essentially sheet metal screws. There's no welding involved. And then we will braze copper pipe together for all refrigerant related components. That brazing is no different than what a plumber would do in your home, just sweating, copper pipe and using a filler, fill, so it doesn't leak. And then there's electronic components, that go together for the most part. They're kind of off-the-shelf components that we will assemble, wire together, and then install into the unit. So that's, the extent essentially of the manufacturing. Almost all assembled.
Any surface coating?
There will be a powder coating station. So, that process, which will be in the third stage, essentially, I don't know how much you know about powder coating, but essentially you ionize the steel and then you spray it with a coating, and then you put it in like an oven for like a half hour. And so that coating itself will come out of it. But yeah, I assume we would probably need even a second meeting for the application just to include that.
So what would the, call it phase one, changes to the facility be right now?
At the moment, we don't have any plans for changes. We're just looking to occupy the building.
Just warehousing space?
Yeah, so warehousing, right now, because the units are mostly being made entirely by our contract manufacturing, by our manufacturer in Arkansas, essentially, we're just storing the finished product there. And then in some cases, we'll have we're still doing some R&D on some new products. So we might be, doing some research and development. That essentially is no different than just us doing some experiments with a tank of water, making hot water, making some hot air. For us, it's like we're running an air conditioner or a big warehouse. It's something really that exciting. I should also mention on the R&D side that we are partnered with RPI, and we have a very good relationship with their, I'm gonna screw this up, with their business development group over at RPI. I think is the name of the team, but don't quote me on it. But our professor has been working with us, and we have a nice sort of grant to continue working with them on a new R&D project. And the goal of that project will be to set the world record for highest efficiency for geothermal. And I think we are.
So, again, really happy about the concept. In terms of the site plan proposal package we have, it's hard for us to review it. Brief description of proposed action says repurpose vacant building to become a geothermal heat pump assembly and manufacturing facility. Energy Catalyst will hire 25% of their employees from the surrounding communities. The exterior facade will be refinished and improved. So everything you're describing as the down the road steps to that are sort of being covered or are being captured by that sentence here without showing us what any of that looks like.
Yeah, so what we would intend to do would be to, essentially, the only exterior changes that would be made are fixes to the building, like literal repairs, like there's some broken windows in the building as it stands right now. I don't know if we need approval for those, but I'm happy to make it contingent. We can come back and get those approved prior to making those changes. But essentially, we will not partake in any new construction or major retrofits to the building without coming back for secondary approval.
Your attestation to that is kind of one thing, and then there's what actual mechanisms would force you back to this body as a separate thing.
Okay.
So it's nice that you were willing to do that, but in reality, you could change your mind and decide not to, and with a site plan approval in hand, there would be potentially nothing bringing you back to us. Does that make sense? So we can't just grant a carte blanche site approval without seeing more of what those things would look like.
If the committee would have it, I'm happy to have essentially to accept no changes. I mean, we can make no changes. But what we can't do is invest our time and energy into a site that we don't know if we can get into at all, right? So,
Totally understand. I don't, I'll wait for other commissioners to speak their mind, but you're hearing, at least from me, definitely interested in you ending up using that site. Okay, so in terms of the actual package materials, there's a very rudimentary site plan. You've seen even for one of the other applicants, what their package ultimately looked like. There's some things that I know we typically like to see, whether it's elevation views, layout of site features beyond what you're showing here, plantings, lighting plans, things like that. I'm not sure on the SWIP front if there's really no changes proposed, so I doubt you're triggering any SWIP issues. I think I understand you're in the process of doing a traffic design.
yeah, so essentially, if we can get approval to come back and do a site plan review with you next time on, March 20th, then we will have a, traffic demand management plan, to present as a part of that package.
So for now, I'll pause and turn it over to other commissioners, see what your thoughts are on the project as a whole, what things you'd like to see in the package. I think it is meeting the bare minimums of a complete package, but definitely some work to do on it.
I'll basically just echo everything that you were saying, Roddy. I mean, we don't want to, I'm very excited about this, the proposal here, and I'm excited about the work that you're doing. And I don't want to put any kind of like extra burden on you all, but, you just, you know, to sort of Roddy's point, just like to the extent that there's any kind of future plan, then we just want to like have that to be on record. And, I think that's kind of the point, is just having that paperwork done.
Yeah, and like the big long-term plan is to build an expansion of the building, but obviously we're not gonna do that without, right?
Yeah.
We know that we have to come back and resubmit. And, you know, if we wanna get approval with no change, you know, just to reoccupy the building, if that's the simplest way, perfectly comfortable to do that, and then we can come back and make any changes once we're ready for that expansion, which is, it's the start of phase 2, so it would be about 9 to 12 months from now, we would come back starting to look for those approvals.
So was it communicated to you that you needed our site plan review in order to get your COO?
That is my impression. Due to just to clarify, due to the size of the building, it's over I forget what the minimum square foot threshold was, but just to reoccupy the building, we needed approval just to say and use it for anything except storage.
Because it had been vacant.
Because it had previously been vacant. I don't own the building, so I don't know how long it's been vacant for, but long enough that it lost its CO.
Interesting. Okay. Commissioner comments? Nathan?
Well, to add to the requirements, when he goes to the next phase, you want to show EDA compliance, right?
If there's proposed changes to the property.
Yeah, I'm just saying, mentioned what we normally see in the site plan.
Do you concur with the purpose of this, application? Meaning, the only reason that the applicant is here is because the certificate of occupancy expired? I didn't realize that certificates expired.
What?
Yes. You don't occupy the premises for at least a year, I think it is.
Rick, can you use the speaking to the mic?
And what defines occupancy?
Well, there's other criteria for which is in front of this.
Okay.
That would be, one is that occupying or reusing, this structure for light industrial constitutes the need for a special use permit. That's first and foremost. The change of use exceeding a square footage of over 10,000 square feet is also another one. And then the lapse of the previous CO meaning that the building is still vacant for some time, also dictates that this come before the commission.
Can you go through, Eric, the note on, change of use, 10,000 square feet, as to, is their document, or their application, I should say, outline what was the previous use and why it's a change of use?
It was light industrial before.
There was light industrial before, right? So
I'm just not familiar with.
It's over 10,000 square feet.
So, yeah, it's over 10,000, but if it's still the same use, it's not a change of use.
In the zone where it is, I mean, I think it's actually going to require a special use permit.
That's clear from the
Okay.
checklist, but.
All right,
yeah, in terms of change of use, zoning, I defer to council. I'm trying to get my hands around that whole question.
I'm not familiar enough with the prior use, really. I just found out about this today, and we established that they needed the special use permit. And that part of that, they would have to have a site plan review. There's also something in the code about, because it's more than, they're probably proposing to use more than 2,500 square feet of the facility for their manufacturing. That also requires some kind of variance. However, the site plan review, it seems to me, if he's proposing no changes, then the question is really just, is the building fit for occupancy under the, for what they intend to use it for? And then any further changes, any future changes to the building would have to come back to the planning commission as a condition of the approval.
Okay, and then also as type 2 action procedurally, we need to, declare it complete and then schedule them separately for a follow-up meeting, right?
Yeah, so their application, planning department viewed it as is a complete application. Type 2 actions do not require a secret designation. And schedule a hearing.
Would be able to just schedule them for next month.
So when they come back next month, they could, I mean, you expressed an interest in having some more detail in the drawings and things like that, that they're, what they propose to operate under, yes.
It's cloudy because of what is being actually proposed here. If you're not making any changes, to the facility, then there's not gonna be a ton more detail required to show there. However, if you're seeking approval for your ultimate project, including all phases, including new potential effluents, you have
Definitely not.
process effluents, process gases, all these things that we would want to consider in the realm of seeker. To me, that's a different application package.
I would agree with that, by the way. That is not our intention.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're looking to make no changes to the building, interior or exterior, or to the site. We would be reviewing it simply as essentially a storage facility for some materials, manufactured and shipped here, basically as a staging location. And then we are really just going to be reviewing the site plan as it connects to the special use permit and taking action for that. Does that make sense to other commissioners?
Yes.
I think it makes sense, but you're gonna change the signage, right? That's part of this. I would suspect that signage would change, that there would be some indication as to where the entry to the building is. I'm not saying that those are significant changes, but it just, there's something not connecting for me here, that we're requiring a site plan review for nothing. So either we need a site plan review that is, I don't know what it's doing.
We also need to see the special use permit, I think. That might help fill in that picture.
Maybe.
Can I ask real quick, do we know for a fact that the CO is actually expired?
We don't have any of the CO
So,
information in here.
I mean, because what I would suggest is that unless you guys are already under a lease, maybe, oh, sorry. Oh, I gotta speak my name. Hi, I'm Dylan, how are you? As I was about to say, it might make sense if we had the actual owner of the property. Are you guys under a lease currently?
We are under a lease and, we do have permission to act on it as the owner in this regard.
Okay, so that's why they're, okay, so CO is probably important. I would assume that knowing for a fact that it's actually expired, otherwise this is kind of cut and dry. At least it would seem to me. I'm not an attorney.
The issue of a new or renewed COO might be clear cut and dried, but I think the checklist for the special use permit still exists. So you'll end up back here one way or another.
Correct, I think for their purposes, they're looking for just CO because that's a milestone they need to hit.
Okay, it would ultimately be a code enforcement issue anyways.
Right,
The COO would only allow them to use the building as was previously approved. Otherwise, if they wanted to do some of the things spoken to here tonight or within the application,
Right.
that would require a special use permit.
right. It's just, they have to make sure it's got a CO. Essentially, the space has a CO that's active, that's allowed to occupy. The use could be warehousing, it could be whatever it is currently, sorry. I'm not used to being on the microphone. It could be potentially what it was before, but I think we have to find that information first before saying, if you're gonna get a CO, you have to hear.
Okay, so I'm a little baffled though as to what action we should take tonight, whether we should be declaring the application complete and scheduling them for a hearing next month, or if we should table this. What is your hope for tonight? What are you seeking?
I mean,
Procedurally, we cannot give you approval within the same meeting. We have to schedule you back.
I guess then that would probably be my hope, I suppose. I mean, my goal is, to move forward and certainly I know less about the, you know, laws than you guys do. So I would defer a little bit to you guys, but essentially our goal is simply to occupy the space. I have, 6 employees right now. We have a very small site. It would be great if we had, there's about 6,000 square feet of office space within this building itself. It'd be great if I had a place to, you know, we're in a lease with these, in this building right now. It'd be great if we could use it. And it would be great if we could store our heat pumps there and use it as a base of operations for, you know, storing equipment and especially the heat pumps as they come in. So just basically to have the same type of use as they had in its prior application. Just as a note, for those of you who may not know, it was previously Uncle Sam's piping. So they used to weld large industrial steel pipe in there. It's not exactly light industrial uses. It was, you know, I personally would consider welding to be higher use intensity than, you know, screwing in sheet metal screws into.
So I'll speak for myself in terms of what I would be willing to offer on the application. I would be willing to say the application's complete. I'd be willing to condition any kind of site plan approval on it being storage only or kind of operational, you know, just staff meetings basically, and storage of materials. And then I would want to see a conditions assessment of the property to understand that, you know, it's fit for people to be in there and that we should be approving the site plan. That's something you could bring by next meeting. And then we can review prior to that meeting, the conditions assessment.
So they would have like a building inspector come into and just
Yeah.
approve for occupancy.
Yep.
Yeah. that should-
And that would point out any glaring issues to us that we should talk about for site plan. Does that make sense? Anyone?
Sarah, I want to clear this up for you. Special use permits, coordination with other permits and approvals. Site plan approval is required as part of a special use permit approval, unless specifically exempted under chapter 285, section 15, for site plan review. chapter 285, section 15 of site plan review, BH. Is a change of use for a non-residential structure that is less than 10,000 square feet would be exempt. But we know this is over 10,000 square feet.
But this also, we have to first establish that it's a change of use. You jumped to a change of use section. That's the part I'm confused about.
That is the only item that states in our zoning code as far as exemption goes from special use permit site plan review.
Yeah, no, by no means do I mean to imply there's not a special use permit not needed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Didn't the checklist we reviewed previously special use? There was a matrix, a table that we
In
had.
Schedule A of permitted uses,
That's what determines that a special use permit is needed in the first place.
correct.
Right, this is a MU1 district, and light industrial use requires a SUP in that,
Reuse or conversion of existing structure.
okay, in reuse as well.
Reuse.
Reuse, yeah, that's the
Thank
operative
you.
word. So that triggers the need for the special use permit.
Doesn't
They're
have-
not exempted because they're over 10,000 square feet.
Doesn't have to be a change.
Correct, I know, that's pivotal. So that's what triggers your need for the site plan review in the first place. So we need to understand what the proposed use is. I'm suggesting that you do a conditions assessment. You bring that back to us next month. We take a look at those, the findings from that, and then we grant a potential site plan approval with operational restrictions.
Are you suggesting that we don't need a site plan?
No, that's required procedurally
Okay.
through the special use permit. Special use
Being
permit,
explicit.
yes.
And the site plan that's included in the application doesn't meet the requirements of the site plan for our review.
Is there anything in particular that we can improve, for your satisfaction?
Yeah, I would just review the site plan checklist. We do the best we can.
It's in your application. On page 4.
I think we could give a couple examples if we haven't already.
Yeah, I mean, I instructed the applicant, our agenda center is full of them. If you want to take a look at some of those and get an idea.
Bro, so sorry. The laundromat checkerboard one is a good example. If you can even look through the history of where that started to where it ended up, if you want to see, the progress that was made.
We don't need renderings of
You
the
don't,
building,
yeah.
though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
just
even
think
think we
site-
need elevations, other than.
Is an overhead
not
map
proposing.
sufficient, like just a nicer version of what we have here?
Another good example would be on,
We did submit, just a side note, we did submit photos with this, I don't know whether.
on Fifth Avenue, further up across the street from Snowman was a garage space, where they came to us for site plan approval. That would be another good site plan to take a look through and see how that looked. Try and dig up what that planning number was. Otherwise, commissioners, do we feel ready to take motion or have a motion on completeness of the application? So. Can I have a motion for that? Abby?
I'll make a motion that we declare the application complete.
Second. Thank you. Moving to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. So after that, the next step for us is to schedule you for next month if you feel that timeline works.
That should be fine for us. Thank you. Appreciate, the time.
1 second, we need to actually have a motion onto that end.
I'll make a motion that we schedule the public hearing for this application, on March 20th.
Second.
Thank you. Moving to a vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And if you would, site inspection or conditions assessment would be a strong step.
Understood.
Yes. All
We'll make sure, I got it on my list.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Eric, you or the other staff will assist the applicant in understanding what needs to go on that site plan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And filling out the special use permit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think we're down to the last one. Are we not? I see 2024-0004. The other River Street one was our consent. So PLPC 2024-0004 for 161 River Street. Is the applicant present tonight? If they're not, I had many questions for this project. Nobody. Not sure what they expect to happen if we can't discuss their project with them.
It would appear that the applicant did not show up today.
Okay. I'm assuming other commission, I mean, I alone have questions, so I would be able to take it in action here. So what is the motion in that case? Is it a tabling or is it a dismissal?
For 161? If the applicant doesn't show?
Yes.
Great question.
Rick, I mean, are we even able to table it or?
They're not able to consider it.
I'm not able to consider, all right, so.
Discussions.
Yeah, I think you should just.
Table indefinitely.
Yes, without let the applicant, put the burden on the applicant to come.
Thank you. I will make a motion that we table the LPC 2024-0004 until the applicant continues to correspond with city staff and this body.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think that was our last item. I do want to give everybody a heads up. Next meeting, I hope we have the full commission here because we need to take a vote on a vice chair for the commission. So if you'd like to think about that for next meeting, I don't know if we'd like to have a more formal deliberation on it next meeting, or if you guys just want to think about it over the next month and nominate and vote. Just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Anything else anyone wanted to talk about? Okay, all right, then can I have a motion to adjourn? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.